like I said, there's three main barns. One is called the Stallion barn, and that's probably one of the smaller barns that's got the nicest crisp finish on it. We've already put a new roof on that, and we trimmed all the brush and trees away from it and replaced some boards and windows, and it's got a fresh coat of paint on it, and it really looks nice. I guess anybody can go look at these barns anytime they want to.
Okay.
They are property of Jefferson County.
Right.
And so you're welcome to go look at them at any time. The other barn, one of the other barns is what we call the Mare's barn, and it's designed to take and house workhorse mares. And then there is a show barn, which has actually been converted into a dairy barn. And off this dairy barn, there's another metal building that was built in the late 70s. And then there's another building that's called a loafing shed that was built in the late 50s, early 60s. There's another building there that's an old chicken house that was probably built in the 40s. These main horse barns were built in 1910 to 1920 in that area.
Okay.
And so when you go out there, you can look at history and progression. In other words, you'll look at something that was done right after the turn of the century, and then clear up to this one Morton type building that was built in the 70s or early 80s. And so you can get a feel of how construction changed in buildings over the years.
I know that's interesting to you.
Well,
being in the construction
right.
trade.
As being a building contractor,
Right.
that's important to me. That may be something that you'd have to point out to a class of students or somebody else. They might not recognize it, but once you point it out, they go, yeah, there were a lot of different techniques over the years developed, and that's one of the things. I said that's part of the secrets we have.
Right.
You know.
Now, would you say that they're probably located, say, a quarter mile south of Libertyville Road?
That's a very good description.
Okay.
Yes, if you go south on Highway 1, you can turn right and go on Libertyville Road. Just as you turn right, you look off to your right and towards the south, and you'll see the Maasdam Barns laying across the field. The new hospital will be our new neighbor.
Okay.
And which really fits well. We talked to them. We're looking for good new neighbors, and so that's going to work out well also.
Great. I think you mentioned when the barns were built. Who were the original owners of the barns, and how long has it been since the primary home was on that piece of property?
I'm not a big history buff, but I did just a little research on this.
Okay.
I happen to be the chairman of the Maasdam Barns, so I guess chairman's supposed to know everything, but that's probably not the fact. But anyway, 1906, Mr. Maasdam came from Pella and bought this property. He actually brought 47 Percheron horses down. He was in a sled, and there was snow on the ground. When he got to Fairfield, he had 47 horses and a Shetland pony with him, and his son was leading the horses, or herding the horses. When he got to Fairfield, they run out of snow. And so if you're pulling the sled, the going gets a little rough. So we don't always stop in Fairfield every time we run out of snow, but it's not a bad reason. So anyway, things happen.
Okay.
He bought this property because he ran out of snow, and it was a good place to
Good
go.
year for the city that year. They saved on salt for the roads and things. Yeah.
The roads were just a little bit rough back then. They actually went in the business of importing horses from Belgium and France, and that went along really well until the First World War. And when all their horses were taken over there for the war, and so they were out of horses. After that, you know, the vehicle came in place.
Mhm.
And so they were kind of out of business. But they turned around, they got back in business again, was doing pretty good, and then the Depression came along. And that was another whammy on it.
Mhm.
But after the Depression over, they got back in business again and did some importing and exporting. These people were pretty, I suppose, entrepreneurial, able to survive. They were true survivors. And of course, you could tell by the buildings they built when they did something. It just wasn't for a little while. When you go look at the buildings, you will see that they were really built well to last, and they have lasted a number of years.
Well, that's great. Now, I understand that there's history that involves the Louden Machinery Company. There's also history involving the Turney Wagon Works.
Right.
And there's also history in terms of raising a champion draft horse.
Right. Right. Actually, that draft horse was taken to a Chicago the World Fair was in International Livestock Show in Chicago in 1919. He took this Persian gray mare and won the world champion with it.
Great.
And right out of little Fairfield, Iowa.
That's fantastic.
Of course, we have all kinds of neat things that come out of Fairfield, Iowa, every day in our lives. It's just we're a natural for developing neat things.
That is fantastic. Now, can you explain a little bit of the history of of Louden's influence on the barns?
Well, I believe these were actually Louden design barns. Louden's design barns and all types of agricultural equipment and barns that were used, or manufactured equipment that were used in barns, such as the Louden track, the hay forks, the pulleys, the ropes, the milk stanchions, gates, waterers. I actually have a Louden sales manual, and if you're in the agriculture business and you need it, Louden's made it. And they had a good marketing strategy. They make quality equipment, and we have a lot of Louden's equipment right now. In fact, we get calls all the time where a farmer's tearing down a barn or something like that, and he says, I got a barn clear full of Louden milk stanchions. Would you like to have them? We probably would like to have them.
Okay.
But we don't necessarily have the resources to get them all or to store them all. But don't hesitate to call us.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, good. Well, Dick, now we've learned where they are. We learned a little bit about their history. Now we understand that they're positioned in an area where it's going to be an entrance, a significant entrance to our community, coming off of the bypass. What is the vision now for these barns? There's a great opportunity there that they could be either part of a sort of a network of tourism places to visit while you're in Fairfield. They could serve as a welcome center of sorts. What is the vision within your Maasdam Barn Committee at this point to turn them into?
This could be the true welcoming center to Jefferson County and anything north. It's the past welcoming the new.
Correct.
And so there's a lot of opportunities there. The bike trail is going right along it. And so let's say if you wanted to take and bring your family for a Saturday or a Sunday or something like that, you could pull in there. You could look at the Maasdam Barns. You could take your bicycles off your vehicles and you go for a nice bike ride. Maybe someday we will actually have a welcoming center there. That's in our vision. We may even have a full-time curator at some time. It would not even stretch my imagination to have a few chickens, a couple cows, some horses, some goats. You know, the bigger cities do it.
Fairfield's version of a living history farms, just a
Absolutely.
display of the
Fairfield-
lifestyle and
of a working farm as turn of the century up to the 40s or something like that.
okay, that's very good. Now, Dick, what's actually entailed in the restoration? The one barn that you have finished thus far, you've essentially done what kind of work to it? What remains for the other barns?
Okay. The one that which would be the Stallion barn, we took and tore the roof off, replaced some rotten sheeting, and put new wood shingles on it, which fits that era. The window frames were rotten. Some of the doors were off the hinges. The old haymow door, a tree was growing into the haymow. Cleaned all that up. Did a lot of carpenter work and some scraping and painting. We still like to do some whitewashing on the inside, but basically it has a sound foundation and a good structure.
Dirt floor?
No, it's a concrete floor.
Concrete floor?
Concrete.
Any idea when the concrete was put in there?
The same time the building was built.
Was original? Okay.
Right, it's original.
Okay.
Now in the Mare's barn, it's got a dirt floor
Okay.
in there. It needs a roof. It needs a foundation.
Okay.
We need to lift that building up and put a new foundation under it. It will stand a long time the way it is right now, but to really be a show barn for our welcoming center, it just needs a new foundation.
Okay.
And so we've got that figured into it. We've got a new roof figured. Windows and doors. Some of the windows have been replaced already. We're trying to do things to make it out of the weather, to make it weather safe, so it doesn't deteriorate anymore. And then the team of volunteers we have, every now and again we'll go out on a weekend and organize a work day, and we'll do a little segment of work. The interesting thing is, we've done all this work without real money. When I say real money, I mean we've had some volunteer money. People open up their pocketbooks and give us donations, some service clubs. Maybe even the city might have kicked in a little bit, I'm not sure. But we've got enough money to kind of just keep us going. And we have so many other things for the committee to do also. Writing a long-range plan. Cleaning up the roadway. Removing trees that aren't good trees. Just maintaining the property. There's a constant list of things that we can always do besides these other construction projects.
Great.
And so as we advance, get more visible, and get better organized, we'll be able to hopefully get some grant money with the help of
Great Places.
Great Places, thank you. With the help of Great Places and some other avenues for grants. We're still, also we've been working on this ever since 2001 when the committee was formed.
Who are some of your other committee members, Dick?
Well, Doug Hamilton, he's the vice chairman. We've actually got a team of surgeons. We got Dr. Nash, who's a dentist. We got Dr. Bauman.
Right.
Keith Schaefer.
Right.
Mark Schaefer. Parsons, Wayne Parsons. Doug Smith. Butch Bloomquist. Boy, if I did somebody else, I'd be in trouble, won't I?
Yeah.
Ron?
Only if they're watching, Dick. I don't know that we have that much
Ron Blair.
participation. Okay.
But we have a really good committee. If I left you out, it's not because I couldn't think of you. I just wanted to keep moving on.
Not a problem. But Dick, what kind of resources have been put into it thus far? That the county took control of the property. Did you have to buy the property?
No, the property was donated.
Okay.
The DOT bought the property.
Right.
They were going to buy the property anyway.
Mm-hmm.
They bought the property, and we have the property by a term called a permanent easement.
Okay.
That's what we
Oh,
have.
okay. I see.
Um,
Now that was obviously there was more property that was attached to that was probably a little
Right.
more relative to the bypass itself. They're planning to use what they need there. Is some of that property also trail?
Some of that's trail,
Okay.
yes. We actually have 6 acres with the
Okay.
Maasdam Barns, and then the trails come right along the side of it.
Great.
And so,
Now the county also they set aside an endowment, I believe, for it, or
Well,
was that something that came in
yes.
through private
the
donation?
county sold some land out by the old county home,
Mm-hmm.
and instead of just putting that in a general fund and kind of watching it disappear how money
Mhm.
goes,
Yeah.
we said we'd take that $70,000 and we would take the interest off of it every year
Mhm.
and give it to the Maasdam Barn committee so they would have some money to work with. Or if they had a project that was really worthy, they could come and talk to the Board of Supervisors and say, gee, we need an additional 25.
Mhm.
We're not urging them to do that. We're urging them to take that the
Mhm.
interest off of that
Mhm.
70,000. We had a discussion about that today to renew it,
Okay.
just to make sure everybody understood what was going on. So there's that there, and then, like I said, Greater Jefferson County Foundation. So far, we've got money every year from them, and some of the service clubs.
Good. Yeah, and then this opportunity that we have coming up with the Iowa Great Places project, where we've had probably about $70,000 or $73,000, I believe, in the application towards the Maasdam Barns. Part of that would be for restoration. I think part of it may have also been to put some signage or some information there for visitors, tourists who are looking for a historic site to visit, to see. So I think that's going to be a great opportunity for us to quickly bring them up to the position where
Right.
they could be a tourist
You
destination.
have no idea how much that can help, because we need a formal plan written by an expert,
Mhm.
and we have not been able to afford that yet. We've had a consultant help us some, but we've never had the amount of money that it takes to have this formal plan written. So a portion of that, only a portion of that,
Right.
would be used for this formal plan. And with that...
And this is probably a historian or someone that is this in terms
It's
of
a
its
plan writer and
history?
a historian that understands what has to be documented in order to go out after these
Okay.
local, state, and federal grants.
Okay.
And it's probably, you know, in the initial part, I thought, oh my gosh, that's a lot of money to spend on that. Of course, I would say something like that.
If it's leverage for
But
for
now that
hundreds of thousands of dollars, it's not.
When you work with a committee and you're looking down the road, you really need direction.
Mm-hmm.
And this will help the direction of the committee too. It's something that the committee can grab a hold of, thumb through, and say, okay, this is where we're at today, and this is where we're wanting to be 5 years down the road, or 10 years, or 20 years.
Mhm.
And so it will be a very beneficial thing.
Good.
We have Ron Blair is an excellent person, been working on this. I don't know where he gets all this time and energy, but he's done a very good job.
Yeah,
and he sure helped us out on
he
that.
is. Ron is a great asset. And I think when Ron takes on a project like this, the thing that you can really say about it is not only that he's going to see it through and complete it and bring a lot of creativity and energy to it, but he's very thorough and it's going to get done right.
Jeff Fitz-Randolph has been a very good person too, helping us establishing some language and some paperwork and things like that too.
Good.
It takes a well-rounded committee to get something of this magnitude off the ground and keep it moving smoothly.
Right. Well, you mentioned, Dick, and we've talked a little bit about this in some of our Great Places work and our visioning, is that a place like that has so much important history to the community, to Jefferson County, to the city of Fairfield, and it being sort of a first stop off of the bypass, and it kind of is it's an entryway. It's a welcome addition. It's an area that you can stop and really first get a look at Fairfield's past, and then as you go up Main Street and come into a downtown that's very diverse, very different, and is going to be somewhat modernized maybe by a building like the Jefferson County, or rather the Fairfield Arts and Convention Center, then I think it really puts a great perspective on the community.
It does. You know, what was the very first thing that happened here in Jefferson County? And it was probably some type of agriculture.
Mm-hmm.
Probably with a team of horses, maybe oxen, but we'll go next step. We'll say team of horses. And so that's what you may see when you pull into the Maasdam Barns. You're going to definitely see something that told you that these horses were a very important part of the history of Jefferson County. You may even see a team of horses out there working. We have some people in this area that have some excellent teams of horses, and they just love to come out on weekends and demonstrate.
Fantastic. Good, and I'm sure we'll see more of that as the barns become restored and they really become a destination. And I really hope that the next year, with the help of Great Places, that we can bring those to another level. I hope more people from within the community can get out and appreciate that heritage and possibly lend some of their sweat equity to the work that you're doing to restore them. I think that's a great opportunity as well.
I think this is a kind of a neat thing to be able to be on FPAC, where you can talk to, because there's a lot of people in the community that know a little bit about this.
Okay.
But would probably really like to get their hands into it and like to help a little bit.
Sure.
And they can do that by volunteering. You know, not everybody has to be able to run a paintbrush or a hammer or a saw, but you know, if you're a good cook, if you like to make good pies, you could bring them out on a Saturday with a pot of coffee. You know,
I like the way you promote committee work and volunteer work, Dick. That's great. I think
we've got something for everybody.
Great.
And
well, it's wonderful that you can be so open and accepting of anybody's skills for something like this.
Well, I think we can.
Good.
Yeah.
Well, Dick, we're about out of time. We're going to start our council meeting in about 5 minutes. I want to thank you for coming in this evening and giving us a picture of what the Maasdam Barns hold as a potential for our community. I think they really will be a wonderful, wonderful addition once we are fully developed. And I think once that bypass is finished, as you mentioned, the hospital is a neighbor. They're going to really set that area off in terms of its prominence, and we really look forward to that. So congratulations on all your good work.
You know, we can build a new building.
Right.
But we saved an old building.
Yes.
That you could not replace if we hadn't saved it.
Good symbol. Very good symbol.
And so I think it's very fit.
Good. Yeah. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dick.
Yeah.
So that will conclude our show of Inside Fairfield this evening. Thank you all for joining us. We'll be signing off in just a few seconds here. We'll ask you all to stay tuned for this evening's Fairfield City Council meeting, which will begin in about 5 minutes. I'm Mayor Ed Malloy. Thank you very much.